If you've ever wondered how people get their music placed on television shows and movies, or just how music licensing works in general, today I'm going to show you what that looks like in real life, in real time. My name's Breanamarin. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I've made a living licensing my music tons of different types of ways. From licensing hooks to indie artists all over the internet via BeatStars, to deciding to start my own business and build my own music library, Love Pulse. Back in July, we hosted a sync-focused songwriting camp called the Lyricist Lab. And in this video, I want to break down some of the lessons that we've learned during our time at the camp. And also, we're going to talk about how to get started in music licensing, how to find the right opportunities, and some of the strategies we use to write music for TV and movies. So when you're licensing music, it essentially means you're giving somebody permission to use your song in their project or production. Sometimes there is an upfront sync fee, and depending on the deal that you make, you could also get royalties on the back end over time. So if a show airs, you might get $2,000 upfront and some royalties every time it plays on television, depending on the deal. And licensing isn't to be confused with actually selling your songs. That's a whole different ballgame, and I am trying to generalize this topic for the sake of simplicity, but usually licensing is giving somebody permission to use something for a specific project and you still own your music. You might give up certain or share certain rights for a specific project, or you could even sign a deal that's exclusive to one project. For example, if you license your song to Chevy for a car commercial, you could sign some kind of exclusive deal that restricts you from going and booking another car commercial with the same song. So licenses can have complex deals, and the terms of that deal is between you and that other party. I'm a big fan of licensing because it can be a great way to earn income on music that you already have lying around. And it also allows you to make money on the same songs over and over again, depending on how much luck you're having in the licensing realm. The more placements you land and the more times that show plays over and over again, the more royalties and sync fees start to rack up. I also want to point out that music licensing doesn't just stop at TV and film. Your music can be placed in trailers, commercials, digital ads, YouTube videos, real estate videos, wedding videos, corporate videos, PSAs, podcast theme songs, or just in the background of podcasts, mobile apps, for example, a dance app that needs music playing while the instructor is teaching. I feel like the sky is the limit. If you can imagine it, you maybe possibly can license it. I love to get creative with that kind of stuff because as a musician, the more you think outside of the box, the more likely you are to open up a new income stream for yourself. In addition to knowing where your music can be licensed, you need to know how your music can be licensed too, and we're going to dive deeper into that later on in the video. So it is day one of the Love Pulse Lyricist Lab songwriting camp. This is the second time I'm hosting this event where we bring everyone together from our team and we work on music for TV and film. And a lot of us live in different areas. Some people are coming from California, Canada, New Jersey, and we decided to meet this year in Philadelphia, and we're at Milk Boy's studio. And it's so cute in here that it's like way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. We have so much space. There's a kitchen, a lounge area that I'm chilling in right now, and I'm trying to be quiet because I'm also a little shy. But I wasn't able to talk until just now, so I've been trying to capture as much of the trip as I can so that I can show you guys what it's like running a full-time business and working in TV and film musically, sync-wise. This is all we really focus on, and I love when we get to come together and make as many songs as possible. But I'm going to continue to show you this cool studio and, you know, try to capture as much of the sessions as we can. Even though I was being pulled in a million directions, I still managed to carve out a little bit of time to get at least a couple of songs done, because I cannot stress enough how important it is through all of the chaos to keep building your catalog. Before I started working on music for TV consistently, I was just doing my thing in the songwriting world. I was focused on writing for other artists. I was working on BeatStars and Sound Better and doing all kinds of other things. I always had TV and film in the back of my mind and wanted to create more opportunities for myself in that realm. But for a while, I just kept running into dead ends or like empty promises. Like, I know someone who knows someone who can lead you to, and it would lead to pretty much nothing but wasting my time. So when the right opportunity presented itself, I was prepared because I had tons of music already ready to go on my hard drive that I could share with music supervisors, composers, or music libraries. And that's exactly what happened. I started connecting with decision makers in TV and film and giving them all the music that they needed from me that fit the projects they were working on. And eventually, after a few months went by, I started getting emails back into my inbox requesting licenses to use the music I had been sending out. So what should you do to prepare for TV and film placements before you do anything else? Most importantly, have a catalog of strong, polished songs. Now, there are always exceptions. I'm sure you've watched some reality shows or even scripted shows that just have terrible music, but that's not you. You're not going to be the person whose song is playing that someone's like, the song sucks. Don't ever want to be that person. I think, yes, have a catalog of songs that are strong and undeniable because it's a reflection of you at the end of the day. I also think it's important to prioritize good, undeniable music because there are typically millions of viewers watching a show at any given time. And even if 1, 2, 3, 4, or 100 of those people decide to Shazam your song, that's going to translate to more listeners and income opportunities for you because you never know who's listening. And that's what we all want anyways, is people to be listening to our music and discover us. Your song airing at the right moment on the right show is a huge promotional vehicle for you and your releases. Also, keep in mind, mixes aren't as critical for TV and film placements. Although you should still aim for your song to sound balanced and polished, it's not the end of the world if you don't have the best mix. Speaking from my own experience, I remember there was a song I was working on that I just didn't even really like that much, and I just wanted to get it done. So I finished it, and then I was tired, so I didn't really listen back to my bounce of the song. And when I got an email saying that they were going to use it on a show I was working on, in my head I was thinking, that song has a terrible mix, and I'm very surprised they didn't ask me to fix it. And sure enough, it aired on the episode with that same terrible mix. And I specifically remember it because there's a vocal of mine that was so loud. It was just louder than the rest of the song, louder than the beat. And they played it on national television exactly like that. You have some leeway for your mixes, but I wouldn't go around town sending out songs with terrible mixes. You don't want to become known for, oh, she's good, but her mixes suck. So yeah, that's not a recurring thing for me, but I do have some that slip through the cracks that are not that great. And although maybe it can still get placed on television and film with a not so great mix, if you are in the position where you're pitching yourself to libraries or people who are considered representation, you might want to put your best foot forward, because even though it's not airing on television, it's just being played in a meeting or somebody making a decision to add you into their library or production team or something like that, they might judge you harsher than maybe a music editor would for a television show. To get your foot in the door, definitely put your best foot forward. And once you are in the flow of building your catalog, aim for about 5 to 10 songs at bare minimum, and try, even if it's the same genre, like if they're all R&B, try to make your topics diverse. So maybe don't make 10 love songs, maybe make a few love songs and then some celebratory songs and a glow up song. You want some diversity in there because every scene that a music supervisor is trying to match a song with may not be a love scene or require love related lyrics, because they do listen to lyrics too. So it's in your best interest to have a diverse catalog, some slow songs, some up-tempo songs, some betrayal songs, some songs dedicated to your mom or, I don't know, your best friend, all the real life scenarios. And that leads me to my next point, which is write from authentic experiences. And I would say your own authentic experiences, but I think it's okay to write from other people's perspectives if you aren't living the actual authentic experience, if that makes sense. If you're not in love, but you've been talking to your best friend or your roommate and they're in love, write a song from their authentic experience. And hopefully that will end up matching with a scene somewhere in the future, because art often imitates life, and TV and film are no exceptions. Think about the themes you typically see in scripted and unscripted television shows and write from those perspectives. There's parties at bars, first-time teens falling in love. There are people who are trying to overcome something. There's adventure. There's so many different aspects, and sometimes they need a song for that. Oh, and something else you should keep in mind when you start sending out your songs is the actual file naming system you have going on. Make sure there's something organized about it. Don't just send off a folder of songs and name it something stupid like Blue City 123, because I see producers doing this all the time. But once you start sending your files to people who deal with tons of files, you don't want yours getting lost in the shuffle. At least have your name on it so they know who to contact if they find a song that they really like. You could even go as far as putting the name of the song, your name, and a way that they can contact you, your website, an email address, something, so that if they end up loving your music and they need to find you to clear it, it's not rocket science for them. And also, it's better for you. It's a way to quickly protect your music from being lost or misused in some way.
What were you doing in the room?
Angela and I were investigating all of the physical analog masters that they have, and it's very cool.
Yeah, the tapes of the masters, and they're on the wall, and there's like Bob Marley's up there. Who else was up there?
Snatch Stores and Jay-Z.
Yeah.
These are masters from these people?
Gerald Levert, a lot of really cool people. Macy Gray, Common.
So apparently we were getting a tour yesterday, and this is a really historical studio, and they have a lot of cool stuff going on. And I noticed this wall yesterday, and I was like, we should get photos in front of it, but I didn't actually read what was in front of it.
No, read some of these names that are on here.
Let's see. Oh, Corrupt. Eric Benet. Oh my god, if they recorded that here, that's so cool. They got something every morning when I look in your eyes, spend my life with you. Oh, Brandy. Like this. I hope you guys can see.
A pro tip that I wanted to share: when building your catalog, work smarter and not harder. Sometimes at Love Pulse, we will get an email brief for a song that's due tomorrow. At the incredibly fast pace that TV and film move at, sometimes you just need to write enough to get a yes. So I always encourage everyone to write half of the song, but still make it feel finished. We'll write a verse, a pre-hook, and a hook, and then repeat that, and maybe switch something up in the second verse and the pre-hook. Add some ad-libs, add some harmonies. You don't want to make it feel like you're literally sending an unfinished demo. Write out the nuts and bolts of the ideas and then make the song feel complete. A good example of this that's a smash hit in my book is the Thong Song by Cisco. It's literally, I believe, the verse, pre, and the hook, and then he repeats it again, and he might even repeat it a third time on the bridge. I've also done it on tons of my placements. I have a song called Truly Yours. It's been placed multiple times on a couple of different shows, and it's just a verse, a pre, and a hook, and then it's repeated. And I ended up just releasing it that way because people were messaging me to release it. So 9 times out of 10, I'm not asked to finish it. I've only been asked to write a new second verse or add in a bridge for songs that are being performed by characters in the show, not necessarily for background music. That's why it's important to learn how to write specifically for TV and film. There are different rules and formats and structures depending on the type of license that's being granted. The rules are not the same if you're working on a song that's playing in the background while the characters are talking and they're sitting at a cafe. We would not use the same technique or strategy for pitching songs to commercials or trailers. Trailers, of all things, I feel are way more complex than just a background song. Trailers require tons of diverse sections. You might need a really soft, quiet section, a loud, climactic section with belting vocals and huge orchestral instruments playing in every which direction. Or if a character's performing a song, you're certainly most likely gonna have to write a verse, a second verse, and probably a bridge in some cases, depending on how long the song's gonna be seen on the show or the movie or the commercial, whatever it is. So take what I just said and apply it to the appropriate scenarios, and do your own research, because the corner of TV and film that I work in might be different than the corner that you end up in. And maybe what I just said does not not go. Sometimes when you're in the game of quantity and quality, these are the steps you can take to make your life a little bit easier and allow you to move a bit faster.
How to write songs quickly without sacrificing quality. I think it's important to really just make sure that the song has a really firm foundation. Strong melodies, really clean vocals, and a fun concept. If you have those three things, and also like if you can come up with some concepts before you start writing, before the session, right? So you just have like a list of concepts that you can pull from, so you're not wasting time trying to think of concepts when you hear the music, right? You have a list that you can easily pull from, and make sure you have a strong melody and great vocal delivery.
I draw from personal experiences. I draw from experiences from stories that I've heard, but I also have a favorite resource that I like to use. It's called Rhyme Zone.
I try to write songs and subjects, particularly to those songs that are normally double entendres. It might sound like it's a love song, the way that it's written, but it might also be religious, and it might work for that as well. You know what I mean? So I try to write as multifaceted as possible, just because it keeps me entertained writing.
Writing songs for characters on the shows is always so much different than writing for myself, just because it's almost like acting in a sense where you have to understand the character and what's happening in the scenes and throughout the seasons in their lives on the show. So it's always different. You know, you have to almost embody what they're going through and what's happening in the specific scene to kind of tap into that. And it's so much fun because it allows you to be something outside of yourself.
I try not to second guess it. I don't lose quality because I don't run from how it makes me feel, and then I just try to convey that the best way I can as a songwriter and put it into words.
Also, before we move out of this section, if you are struggling to get started with your songs or your lyric ideas are feeling a little messy or all over the place, I actually have a PDF freebie in the description box that you can download. It comes with 3 song starter frameworks designed to help you literally start your songs and write stronger verses and hooks. So if you're in the process of building up your catalog, definitely check this out. I was just about to move on to the next chapter, but I remembered something else I wanted to share, which is if you are making a song and you actively hate that song. I used to just stop in my tracks and be like, okay, I hate the song, I'm moving on from it. But with my experience on Sound Better and BeatStars, it actually helped me understand that sometimes your taste doesn't mean it's a bad song. It's not your taste though. You made it, but it's not your taste, if that makes sense. It could be someone else's taste. So sometimes it's not a bad song, it's just not your preference in song. So it's worth finishing because it can still generate you income. And I've experienced this multiple times where I've written a song for a client on Sound Better and I personally hate it, but just to test my own thought process, I would send it anyways. And then sure enough, the customer would be completely satisfied because it was what they were looking for. It had nothing to do with my taste. And there you have it. I got paid, the job was done, and the customer was happy. It didn't matter that I didn't really personally like the song. And so the same thing with BeatStars. I've made over 100 hooks for BeatStars and I don't like all of them. But sometimes some of my biggest selling hooks would be ones that I didn't actually like or didn't think were even gonna do that well because it just wasn't my favorite. And then that brings me back to licensing. There have been several times where I've written a song and I'm like, this isn't my best song, but it's a song. I'm gonna just finish it and I'm gonna send it off and let the person who is picking songs for scenes decide if the song sucks or not, or if it doesn't match anything. Because don't let your personal opinion of your song stop you from A, finishing it, and B, sharing it with someone else who can create an opportunity with that song. I'm not saying you should release bad songs when you know they're a bad song, because that is different. I just mean that maybe a good song that you don't like is still worth pitching, because it could be exactly right for a TV show or a digital ad or who knows. Okay, so once you have a strong foundation and you have a solid catalog of 5 to 10 polished songs that are ready to be licensed, you're ready to tackle, to me, what is the second most important piece of getting your music licensed, aside from having good music to start with. I've said this before, if you don't have good music, none of this matters, okay? You need to go back to the drawing board and get the music right. And once it's right, you can tackle step 2, which is relationships. There's no way around it. How else could you get your music in front of the right people who can actually do something with it? That would be music supervisors, sync reps, music editors, people who have the power to say yes. In my experience, there are 2 ways you can go about this, maybe 3. I'll be in touch. Option 1 is going to be to let somebody open the door for you. That means finding good representation. Representation could be a music library, a sync rep, a trailer house, a sync agent, a publishing company with a sync department, people or companies that already have trusted relationships with key players in the sync world, networks, producers, supervisors, directors, all of the above. For music libraries, typically you apply, submit your music, and if they like you, you'll sign some sort of deal. It could be exclusive or non-exclusive. Exclusive meaning maybe you can't join any other library, or it could also mean you can join other libraries, just whatever music that you submit to them can't be submit to any other library. Every company has their own workflow and process and terms and conditions, pluses and minuses. You'll just have to do your own research and figure out what setup works for you, because I always think that every deal has a person that deal works for. But anyways, after you're all set up and ready to go with your library or libraries, plural, you're just gonna hurry up and wait. You might not hear from them, you might hear from them. They all have different workflows, like I said, but when you have a placement, you will either be notified or maybe you won't hear from them a few months. And when you log into ASCAP or BMI, whatever PRO you are affiliated with, you might see some money in your account and some cue sheets that are showing you where your music has been airing. And congratulations, you are now a part of the music licensing phenomenon. I think the key to music libraries, and honestly anything in the sync realm, is going to be doing your research. Not all music libraries cater to all genres, and not all music libraries are going to be a fit for you. That's the same goes for publishers and sync agents and all of the things. You need to know, if you're pitching to a music supervisor, what kind of projects do they work on? If they work on all these like dark projects that have nothing but like heavy metal, and you are an R&B pop diva, that's probably not going to be the fit for you. But if you are a heavy metal rock band, that's going to be the perfect lane for you, and you need to find more people or companies, agencies, whatever, that cater to that genre, because you will be thriving on that side of the world. That will save you a lot of heartache and pain if you keep getting rejected. All that to say, do your research and figure out where you fit. So your next option 2 is going to be building relationships on your own from the ground up. This is the path that I chose, and I'm still building it out as we speak. It's definitely a longer route. It's just the way the cookie organically crackled. To say crumbled. It's the way the cookie organically crumbled for me, as I've been actively working in the music industry for quite some time now. And through all of those projects and sessions and writers and producers that I've collaborated with, I developed those relationships over time, and ultimately it helped me break into the sync world, which is exactly where I wanted to be. I still have so many more goals in this realm that I'm still actively working on. And a quick story I can share to demonstrate the reality of how impactful building relationships and working relationships could be is through a client that I was working with on my website. They found me on my website in the thick of me doing Sound Better and all that stuff. If you don't know my whole life around Sound Better, I did do a whole video on my experience with doing client work through my music and my website and Sound Better and BeatStars. So if you want to hear the full stories about that, I will link that somewhere up here or in the description box. This production company found my website, and they would pay me a small amount to try out for little digital ads that they were working on. Sometimes I would land them, sometimes I wouldn't. And when I would land them, I would get an extra bigger fee. And I loved it. I love when they contact me. And sometimes they would come around and they would ask me to try out for bigger projects, like actual ads that were running on TV and stuff like that. And maybe 2 years ago, I would say, they asked me to do the same thing. And this time it wasn't singing, because sometimes it would be like little simple stuff, like how the little commercials would be like, did you do it? I did it, kind of thing. And that's it. But this time they reached out and they were like, you don't need to sing, it's just talking. So they wanted me to try it. So I tried it, and long story short, short, I ended up doing voiceovers for 2 national commercial campaigns. And all of this happened because I was discoverable online and I had a great long-term working relationships with clients that were hiring me through my website. So all that to say, I've been wanting to do TV and film, commercials, voiceovers. I love all of that stuff. A small project led to me landing much bigger opportunities, but it was the long game. It took time. It wasn't an immediate thing. So there is value in building relationships with the people around you.
Also, because I traveled from Las Vegas to Philadelphia, I wasn't able to bring our camp signage, and we do have sponsors for the event, so we have like requirements to put up signage and like have visibility, and so that we can afford to put on these kind of events. And so to make a workaround, a few of us brought what we could. We brought projectors, and the studio has some monitors in there. So right now I've been sitting here. I made one video at home, and it's like a combination of like the signage and photos, artist bios, recaps of our previous events, and it just looks cool. And I think when the artists are sitting in the room, it gives them something to look at. They can learn about each other because some of them have never met each other before, and you can see what you've accomplished. You could remember people's names, put a face to the name, because it's so hard when you're meeting a bunch of people on the first day to remember who is who. Yeah, I'm sitting here right now while I'm supposed to be in a session, and I'm making a couple additional videos to put on all the monitors that we have access to.
You can and should do both of the options I just mentioned. You should let somebody else open the door for you, and you should build your own relationships. Don't feel pressured to do everything alone. You can use both strategies at once. Submit to libraries, but also build your own network. And my third bonus option here is, and always will be, draw attention to yourself. Social media is one of the best resources that we have. It's free. It costs you your time, effort, and energy, but it's free financially to you, and it just requires you to come up with the strategy. Music supervisors are in the business of finding the right songs to match the right scene. So if you make yourself visible enough, if you're going viral, you're pulling in high organic streams on your Spotify or Apple Music, running ads or whatever it may be, these decision makers could just show up at your doorstep, metaphorically. You might open up your email inbox one day and see a license request for one of your songs that you just were making TikToks about. I wouldn't rule it out.
We have forgotten our lanyards to make badges, so we are doing makeshift badges. We got a Polaroid camera and we're printing the Polaroids and putting them into the badge insert. And I had one job, and it was to bring lanyards, and I forgot the lanyards.
You had more than one job.
I had several jobs. And we got can you see? We got white ribbons, and these are our cute little Polaroids. I only had black and white, and then I went and bought some color Polaroids. And then we have the actual badge inserts, and there was supposed to be a lanyard attached. Oh, you're fine. There was supposed to be lanyards attached, but I left them at home on my little suitcase thing. So Alwanda has been sitting here printing out our labels. And then, we're gonna put the label at the bottom, and then everyone puts their insert inside the badge thing. And it's just a cute little keepsake that we made that you get to take home and, memorialize the camp experience.
If I haven't already told you, sync is a long game. You might write a song today and place it in a year or 2 or 3, maybe tomorrow, but most likely it's gonna take some time. It's so common. This has happened to me several times. A real life example I could think of is I have a song called Best Thing. It's still on my channel. You can still go listen to it, but Best Thing started off as a hook for BeatStars. A producer had sent me a beat. I loved the beat. To give you context, I often ask for skeleton beats, beats that are unfinished. So he sent me an unfinished loop, and I made the hook, which is now Best Thing.
You got me right where you want me. If you never leave me lonely, I could be the one, be the only. Long as you keep showing me love, got me right.
And I loved it. Nothing ended up happening. It just died right there. But in the back of my mind, I was always dang, I really like that song. And I wish I could figure out something to do with it. So then I was maybe I should just finish it and I could just release it Anyways, so I finished it. Maybe a year or so later, I started having more sync opportunities. And so I polished it up one more time and I sent it off and let it go into the sync ether. Honestly, nothing happened. I forgot I even sent it. And maybe a year, maybe even 2 years later, to be honest with you, and it ended up airing on a show on Fox in a really visible, audible scene, because sometimes songs are just placed in the background and characters are talking over it and you still get paid, but it's not really shining the way maybe we all would want our songs to shine. But this time it was front and center. The character was dancing to it for a good amount of time. Like, you could really hear the song. It was really Shazamable, and it ended up reflecting in my Spotify streams. It went from having 0 streams because I released it just for the sake of releasing it, but after it aired on television, it jumped, and now I think it's sitting at maybe 70,000, 75,000 streams, which for me is really good. So for it to go from dying on my hard drive to now having a good amount of streams on Spotify is amazing. I just was excited to finally see that song that I loved since day one finally get some love. Okay, so it's day 2 and we're at the songwriting camp. I'm filming a little late. I probably look sweaty and gross. It's been told to me that on day 1 we got 18 songs, and day 2, oh hello, what are you doing? I was talking about the camp. It's amazing. This is my partner in crime, Alonda Rich. We've been living on pizza and smoothies and coffee and matcha. It's been a very interesting event, so I will come back when we are in the listening party. See you later. Nobody is immune to the long game. Sometimes we'll write something responding to a music supervisor's TV brief, which is basically a request a music supervisor will send for a specific song. They might be like, Mayday, I need this kind of song tomorrow. And so there's been times where we responded to those and we don't hear anything back for months, and to the point where we might even forget about it. And then the next thing you know, there's a license in the inbox. I also want to share some examples of what this looks like on a major scale. Let's look at Lizzo. We all remember Lizzo's song Truth Hurts. Great till they gotta be great. I love that song. She originally released that song in like 2017, and I don't know what kind of streaming traction or whatever she was getting, but fast forward to like 2019, and I could be getting the dates wrong, so you might have to Google it yourself, but let me check my notes. Yeah, 2019, it starts getting traction on TikTok, and then the next thing you know, it aired on a Netflix movie, and then it just blew up. It was years in the making, and I'd imagine that song was life-changing for her, and it was years old. So in that case, she may not have been striving for a sync licensing placement, but the sync synced and did what it was gonna do anyways. Another famous example that is like a throwback is Kiss from a Rose by Seal. Kiss from the grave. I don't know the words. Kiss from a Rose by Seal. He released that song in the 90s, and let's say he put it out and it was whatever. I don't think it was like an overwhelming response for that song, but then it aired in Batman Forever, and now it's the song that we know today. It's a classic. It's timeless. It was a long game for him. It wasn't as long as maybe Lizzo's trajectory, which was like 2 or 3 years. I think it was just a year from the release. Like, he released it 1 year in the summer, and then the next summer it was in Batman Forever's like soundtrack or whatever. They maybe spruced up the song a bit. I don't know the facts, but these are real life examples of how sync can just really hit ya in the face. Now, every licensing opportunity is not going to be a Batman Forever or like a Netflix summer smash hit, but they are income building and can contribute to your monthly or quarterly income. Sometimes it's life-changing and sometimes it isn't, but even if you're getting an extra $500 here or there, I'm sure we can all use that. It can buy you groceries, get you your gas, and this is the makings of you being a full-time working musician, creating and opening all of these different income streams, because sometimes one income stream might cut out and the other might save the day. I don't think for everybody in the world, licensing is going to be some full-time job, life-saving situation for you. For some of you, it might be. You might end up being millionaires because of licensing. I have friends and peers that are like thriving in licensing, and I have others who they get licensing placements and royalties here and there, and it does exactly what I said. It might pay your rent for a couple months or a month. It might pay a car note. It might cover some insurance. Whatever it is, it's useful. If you've been trying to get your music license and you're starting to feel discouraged, just remind yourself that sync and licensing is playing the long game. There are so many moving parts behind the scenes. You never know when a song's gonna find a home or have some kind of incredible moment to shine. Just keep making good music, do research, and make sure that your music is being sent off to the right places. And eventually, somewhere in that workflow, you will start landing placements. So we're starting to wrap up and people are starting to have to catch flights and do all the things outside of the camp. So we're migrating over to the A room so that we can listen to every single thing that we did while we were here. I'm excited. This might be a long listening party because there's a ton of songs, but it's gonna be fun nonetheless. So let's go.
Like that. It's now high, perfectly carved up. Your energy is matching my aura. It's all love. Listen, can't be. Understand me. You just gotta give me a chance. See.
Diamonds come from pressure. Out of all the things I've been done, it's all a game, nothing else. Baby, remember, diamonds come from pressure. They say love is something powerful, but needs to be grown if we don't explore it. 'Cause I can. Let's see what's in my heart.
So hopefully now you have a better understanding of sync and licensing, and you realize it's more than just having good music. It's about having the right songs and building the right relationships and just a little bit of patience, maybe a lot of patience, while everything starts to fall in place for you behind the scenes. If you're brand new to music and you're not sure what you should be focusing on first, watch this next video. I'll help you get clear on your next steps so you can stop guessing and start building some momentum in your self-made songwriter journey.
If you need patience, baby, I'll give that. You got